In Season 3 of House of the Dragon, Rhaenyra Targaryen's son and heir Jacaerys will die in the bloodiest sea battle in Westeros history, in which 5 dragons and hundreds of ships will participate, and in which Prince Jacaerys Velaryon, along with his dragon Vermax, will die. Season 2, Episode 8 was a prelude to the Battle of the Gullet, in which we saw the Triarchy sailing towards the Gullet to break Corlys Velaryon's fleet, while Sea Snake is also sailing towards it to strengthen it. And on top of that, Rhaenyra's young children are unknowingly sailing straight toward the Triarchy fleet where they will be captured, which then causes Jace and other dragonriders to mount their dragons and fight. All of this is going to happen in the beginning of Season 3, and Battle of the Gullet will be the biggest battle of the entire season, which is going to be filled with battles. Battle of the Gullet will see the death of Jacaerys and his dragon, and the abduction of Rhaenyra's young son, Prince Jacaerys. In the prelude of the battle, we will also lose another dragon, Prince Aegon's Stormcloud. In Season 2 finale, we saw the Triarchy Admiral Shirako Lohar meet with the Greens, forging allegiance with the Greens, and we saw 90 of their ships sailing towards the Gullet to fight Corlys Velaryon's ships. But more than that, there is one more thing at play here. Rhaena sent Rhaenyra's children, Aegon and Viserys, along with a small dragon Stormcloud and dragon eggs off to Pentos on a ship, following Rhaenyra's instructions, but not protecting them herself. Instead of going with them, Rhaena went on to claim Sheepstealer, and once she claims the dragon, instead of flying to protect them, she will fly to join Rhaenyra in taking King's Landing. This will turn out to be a grave mistake, as the Triarchy ships are sailing straight towards them. A combined fleet of 90 Mirish, Lysine, and Tyroshi warships under the banners of the Three Daughters, commanded by the Triarchy's Admiral Shirako Lohar of Lys, move from the Stepstones towards the Gullet. On their way there, they will intercept the ship carrying 2 of Rhaenyra's sons, Princes Aegon and Viserys. Aegon will escape atop Stormcloud, but Viserys only has a dragon egg. Viserys' fate through the remainder of the Dance of the Dragons is unknown to his family, who believe he died in the battle. Little Aegon, on the other hand, never flew Stormcloud before, and on top of that, Stormcloud will be terribly wounded as he escapes. When they arrive at Dragonstone, countless arrows are in Stormcloud's belly, and there is a scorpion bolt through his neck. Stormcloud will die, but not before making sure Aegon arrives to safety. Aegon reports the news to Jacaerys, who stayed at Dragonstone while everyone else flew to take King's Landing. Once Jacaerys learns what happened and that his little brother Viserys has been taken, Jacaerys will immediately mount Vermax and fly to one of the bloodiest sea battles in all of history, while sending Baela and Moondancer to report the news to Rhaenyra at King's Landing and send help. Before the battle begins, Shirako Lohar divides the Triarchy ships into 2 squadrons entering the Gullet to the north and south of Dragonstone. They attack at sunrise, surprising Corlys Velaryon's fleet. Flying on Vermax to meet the fleet of the Triarchy, Jacaerys attacks a line of Leiden galleys. The sailors have experience fighting dragons during the War for the Stepstones, so their captains direct their spears and arrows against Jacaerys. The help comes from King's Landing, as Jacaerys is soon joined by Ulf the White on Silverwing, Rhaena on Sheepstealer, Adam on Seasmoke, and Hugh Hammer on Vermithor. And the line of warships from the Free Cities shatter as one galley after another turn away. The overwhelming force of the dragonriders ultimately breaks the Triarchy fleet, but it comes at great cost. Jacaerys and Vermax in their rage fly too low, and Jace's dragon is hooked by a grapnel, which is tied to one of the ships, and the dragon is then dragged down into the water with a terrible wound. The dragon crashes into the wreckage of another ship, gets tangled up, and is pulled into the depths with the burning ship when it sinks. Jace, meanwhile, manages to jump free of Vermax's saddle and get to some wreckage to stay afloat. He then dies a horrible death, with Triarchy sailors shooting him full of crossbow bolts before he too sinks into the ocean and is never seen again. Rhaenyra loses her heir. Jacaerys is by far the biggest casualty of the Gullet, but there's a lot of other casualties too. North and south of Dragonstone, the battle continues into nighttime. The Velaryon fleet manages to push back the Triarchy's warships, but Driftmark is sacked by the Associ soldiers during the battle. The southern squadron bypasses Dragonstone, believing that it is too strong to attack, and instead attacks Driftmark, setting afire the harbor of Spicetown. The town is sacked, with its inhabitants butchered. Spicetown on Driftmark is sacked so brutally that it's never rebuilt. And Corlys Velaryon's castle of High Tide is put to the torch along with all the treasures he gathered on his 9 voyages, with the sea snake's servants cut down as they flee. Thousands die from the battle. The Velaryon fleet loses almost a third of its strength. Jacaerys and his dragon Vermax are killed, including Aegon's Stormcloud, and Prince Jacaerys is taken captive, but presumed dead by both sides. Prince Aegon the Younger will never forgive himself for abandoning his little brother. The fleet of the 3 daughters takes such heavy losses that it plays no further part in the war. Only 28 out of 90 of Jericho's ships, most of them Lysine, return home. The widows of the fallen mermen and Triarchy accused Jericho of having held back his own Lysine ships while sending the other men of the Triarchy to their doom. This sparked a quarrel that would result in the Daughters' War 2 years later, shattering the Triarchy. As I said, during the battle, the fleet captured the cog carrying Rhaenyra's children, and Prince Jacaerys, who will for the rest of the series be presumed dead by both blacks and greens, is first made the captive of a Triarchy captain, but Admiral Lohar soon takes the prince. Wanting golden allies due to disgraceful defeat in the Gullet, Jericho sells Jacaerys to Bambaro Bazan in exchange for the prince's weight in gold and a promise of support, but is eventually murdered by one of the rivals. Ulf the White celebrates his participation and what he sees as a victory. He survived. Rhaenyra's oldest son and heir is dead, and one is presumed dead. His path towards the Iron Throne looks better and better. Rhaena and Adam will be heavily affected by this battle, with Adam seeking out the sea snake, though it is unknown what they will speak to each other. Many people on Dragonstone begin to resent Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen for kin they lost during the battle. Ultimately, the Battle of the Gullet will be very costly for both sides and could be considered both a tactical victory for the Greens and a strategic win for the Blacks. Whereas the Blacks lost 2 dragons and heir to the throne, the Greens fail in their main goal, to break the hold of the Velaryon fleet on the east coast of Westeros. When Corlys is congratulated on his victory over the Triarchy, he replies with, "If this be victory, I pray I never win another." Another battle that is going to happen in the beginning of Season 3 is the Battle of the Honeywine, in which Daeron Targaryen and his dragon Targaryen, both of whom we've seen in Season 2 finale, along with the Hightower host fight against Rhaenyra's loyalists in the Reach. Prelude to this battle is that the Green's main supporters, House Hightower, the family of King Aegon's mother Alicent, who are marching to war, assumed the lords of the Reach would side with them against Rhaenyra. Instead, many of the major lords from the north and east of the Reach declare for Rhaenyra Targaryen and her blacks, including houses Caswell, Rowan, and Tarly. Several of the Hightower's own vassals declare for Rhaenyra as well, such as houses Beesbury and Costain. With the Reach divided between blacks and greens and Lord Lionel Tyrell of Highgarden only a baby, his regent mother declares House Tyrell neutral in the Civil War. Instead of quickly marching armies from the Reach to join with the other green armies in the north to overwhelm the blacks, the Hightowers along with Daeron in his dragon will have to slowly fight through the Reach itself. Ormond assembled a great host and marched out of Old Town, but he will be quickly set upon by black forces. Hightower's army will be caught between 2 armies while backed against the banks of the Honeywine. From the northeast will come in a large host of Rowan and Bitterbridge's mounted knights. Lords Beesbury, Tarly, and Costain will join their smaller forces together and attack the Hightowers from behind, cutting off their retreat south to Old Town. Attacked from the front and the rear, Hightower's lines will start to crumble, and defeat will seem certain. But then Prince Daeron Targaryen on his dragon, Targaryen, will turn the favor of Green's forces. The battle will be a significant blow to the Blacks, destroying all Rhaenyra's forces in the Reach, and a big victory for the Greens. Daeron Targaryen will be hailed as a hero that day, and knighted by Lord Ormond Hightower with the Valyrian steel longsword, Vigilance. Daeron will be called Daeron the Daring after the battle, though Daeron will modestly state that his dragon Targaryen is the true hero of the battle. Beginning of House of the Dragon Season 3 will see both Battle of the Honeywine, in which Daeron and his dragon are victorious, and the bloody Battle of the Gullet, in which Jacaerys and his dragon die. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.